Good evening. Good evening. Well, it is Friday, March 14th, and today is Professional Speakers Day. Good evening. I'm Thesha Jenkins, and I wanted to celebrate Professional Speakers today by spending some time with you just to share some information about professional speaking. As you see here, my show here is called Emotional Intelligence in Real Life with Thesha Jenkins. And so my background is that I am a gender-based violence expert as well as an emotional intelligence practitioner. And I have been speaking, I was adding it up today. I believe that I have been speaking for about since I was 22. So we're going to say 30, almost 37 years. Almost 37 years, I've had the opportunity to share information. And that's probably the biggest part that I want to share with you in the time that we're going to have together this evening is that when people think about professional speakers, they tend to think about individuals such as the amazing Les Brown. In fact, that was my introduction to professional speakers. I ran across one of his books and I began to follow him almost 30 years ago. You've got Tony Robbins, you've got Lisa Nichols, you got all of these famous speakers out there. And when people think about professional speakers, that's who they tend to think about. However, I want to share with you that if you, in your career, if you are doing any type of speaking and you're receiving pay, guess what? You are a professional speaker. And I just wanted to give some strategies and tips. I want to encourage you to engage this evening. So for those who are here, if you give me a hi, that would be great. And I want to engage with you and just share some information with you. A little bit about my background, as I've shared. I'm a gender-based violence expert, also emotional intelligence practitioner, and public speaking has a lot to do with emotions. What we know is that the number one fear that most people have is speaking. And for many people, when it comes to social media, most people are not willing to hit the go live button. And it's one of the greatest ways to get your message out there. And I'm going to be talking about some reasons why we want to do public speaking, why we want to be professional speakers. And again, for those of you who are in management, guess what? You're a professional speaker, because when you're sitting down doing interviews with individuals, when you are having meetings where you're casting the vision for your department, you're actually speaking. You are doing public speaking. For those who are in the nonprofit arena, we've got the United Way campaign that will probably be coming up very soon here in the Houston area. The individuals who will be going out soliciting funds in order to make sure that 1 and 2 Houstonians, that when there is an issue that comes up, when there is, hopefully we won't have bad weather this year, but when those things come up, that money is being raised to make sure that people have someone who can respond in a crisis when someone has a diagnosis of cancer. So they're looking for individuals to go out on the campaign trail and to say, hey, will you donate to the United Way? That is public speaking. I have a cousin who is in real estate. When she is out showing homes and she's showing all the benefits and the features, guess what? That's public speaking. So you're already doing it. And I just want to come on today to encourage you that when you get those little flutters in your stomach and you're thinking, I can't speak in public, I'm not a professional speaker. Again, if you are in a career where you're having to teach, train, share the message of your organization, you are a professional speaker. You are getting paid to disseminate information. You are getting paid to disseminate information. So I'm going to give you talk about some strategies and tips around speaking. I want to give you some resources as you are speaking. And when you have questions, please feel free to type them in. I'm going to be watching over here in the comments section. So again, when you come on, say hi. But let's just keep it moving because I'm not going to be on here very long. But when we talk about speaking, why? Why do we want to speak? Why do we want to speak? Well, one reason, I'm going to give you 4 reasons why it's so important that you speak, is to create awareness. Now, for 30 years, I've been creating awareness about the issue of domestic and sexual violence. I began doing that work back in 1996. And quite frankly, before 1996, had never really thought about domestic and sexual violence. However, even though I am a survivor, it wasn't something on the forefront. It wasn't something that I thought that people wanted to talk about. However, the position that I took on in 1996, that was 100% of my job was to go out into the community and raise awareness. And so for 30 years, I have been raising awareness about the issue of domestic violence and sexual assault. And here's the other part of this. By creating that awareness, it also has afforded me and given me the opportunity. I have spoken in Accra, Ghana. I've gone to Ghana to speak, paid to speak, okay? I've gone to Trinidad and Tobago. I've traveled all across the United States creating awareness. So here is the thing, that when you are willing to speak up, when you are willing to share your expertise, it opens doors for you. When you create awareness, it can open doors. So one reason to do public speaking, to be a professional speaker, is so that we can raise the level of awareness about the issue. The second one is to foster understanding. And so all this week, I've had the opportunity to work with nurses, to work with other social service providers, to work with law enforcement. And every single time, 100% of the time, when I finish doing a class on domestic violence or sexual assault, people will come up to me and go, wow, I did not realize that 3 women every single day are killed by an intimate partner. What that means is that at the end of March, which is Women's History Month, is that by March 31st, 11:59 p.m., 93 women will have lost their lives. And being able to provide that understanding to individuals that domestic violence isn't just something that happens behind closed doors. It's not just about dysfunction. It is also a crime. It is a crime that is being committed over and over, at least 3 times across this country. It is happening every single day. So when people have that understanding, I work with professionals such as healthcare providers, law enforcement, criminal justice, educators. When they have that understanding, those who are clergy, that they have that understanding that the people that they are interfacing with on a daily basis may be in an abusive relationship. So number one, I've created a level of awareness that was not there before I spoke to that group. Next, I am creating and fostering understanding. Then to generate impact, making an impact is that people begin to think, wow, this could happen to someone that I know. When I go out and I talk about emotional intelligence, and I'm raising that level of awareness, that emotional intelligence isn't just about being nice, but they are some soft skills which can lead to the bottom line of organizations, that by building one's emotional intelligence, that it can be the difference between having healthy and unhealthy relationships, both personally and professionally. So there is a level of awareness about what is emotional intelligence. I'm fostering an understanding that it's not just some soft skill that's nice to have, it is an essential skill. And then generating impact, that people begin to think, this is something that I need to develop. And then finally, the fourth reason is that we motivate audiences to take action. I gave the example at the very beginning that with the United Way campaign, we think about political campaigns, that people are doing professional speaking. Their role as a speaker is to, once again, to create awareness, foster understanding, generate impact. And the final thing is to motivate an audience to take action. You're in real estate. Your role as a speaker, as an educator, if you will, is getting that person to purchase that home, to purchase that property. As a healthcare provider, motivating someone to take their medication, to get their annual exams. All of those are the roles of individuals who are speaking. So then what are the benefits of you speaking? Well, number one, it increases your credibility. I believe that when we speak, that it's an opportunity for us to become a resource. Many times people will reach out to me and go, I know that you do that domestic violence stuff, right? So when they think that they know someone who's in an abusive relationship, they're going to call me. They're going to inbox me on social media. Also with the emotional intelligence, I have people who reach out and say, I'm having these issues in the workplace. Would you be willing to come in and provide a training? Would you be willing to come in and provide coaching? Because one of the people on my team, the level of empathy just isn't there, or their self-confidence, they have no self-awareness. And so when you put yourself out there as a speaker, as an educator, and I'm going to shift from even saying being a professional speaker to being an educator, that when we speak, we are doing ongoing education, that people will then begin to see you as the experts. We hear that term thought leader used a lot. Well, when you speak, you are putting yourself out there that I am an expert. Next, it provides exposure for your message. I want everyone to know about the issue of domestic violence. I want them to know, for those who are in corporate America, that domestic violence is an issue. According to the Human Resource Association, they did a study probably about a decade ago asking what were the top 10 issues for security in corporations. And guess what rose up to the top? Domestic violence. I want to foster that level of awareness. I want people to be talking about emotional intelligence. And especially now, the world that we live in, I believe that emotional intelligence is so important, that it is an essential skill, that it is not a soft skill. It is an essential skill for an individual to be able to manage themselves, to have that level of self-awareness, to have the confidence to speak, for an individual to be able to have decision-making skills. When in today's world, we're constantly being inundated with decisions and having to be agile, that emotional intelligence is not just a soft skill, it is an essential skill. And then finally, another benefit of speaking, being an educator, being on the forefront, is that it's personal satisfaction. It is a level of personal satisfaction. I have a level of personal satisfaction knowing that the skill that I possess to be able to go in and to teach, to be able to go in and facilitate, that it has afforded me the opportunity to travel on an international basis, to capture people at an international level. And more importantly, when I get someone who calls me and says, wow, when you came today and you trained, when you were sharing, you just unleashed something on the inside of me. I've had clients who've come back who have decided to pursue their master's and their doctorate degrees. And it was because of a training. It was because of a keynote. Having a young woman who came up to me the following year when I went to a conference where I had spoken the year before, and she sought me out and she's like, guess who's speaking this year at the conference? Me. That's who. I'm the one who's speaking. And she said, listening to you last year, she goes, you really encouraged me. And she goes, I kept thinking about it and kept thinking about it. And I just want to thank you. That is the beauty of teaching. That is the beauty of speaking. Again, is that we get to be a part of people creating transformation in their lives. You have that ability to create transformation in other people's lives. So I'm hoping that this is helpful for you. So for the person who says, I don't really consider myself to be a professional speaker, I don't really consider myself to be someone who has information to share, what I want to say to each of you who will watch now and who will watch the replay is that you have a level of expertise. Let's say that you are a child care provider and there's a conference coming up. And instead of just being the person who goes to the conference, what would stop you from leading a session? Maybe people tell you all the time, I love the way that you work with the toddlers and you just have an ability. It's like you're the baby whisperer. We come into your room and the children are all at peace. And when a child is having an outburst, that you just have a way of calming those children down. Could it be that that is your area of expertise, that maybe you could be known as the baby whisperer? So now you begin to train new staff on ways to calm toddlers. And then you find yourself people saying, I would love for you to come and talk to the people at my child care. So guess what? You now have the ability to go out and teach, to foster, to create awareness about how to help a child to manage themselves introducing social emotional learning, if you will. You have the ability to help childcare providers and parents foster an understanding about what it takes to calm a child around. You're generating impact because when those other childcare providers and parents learn how to help their children to self-soothe and self-regulate because they are using social emotional skills possibly, and then motivating them to action, to learn even more. So I hope that this is tracking. Hey there, Selassie, all the way from Ghana. Thank you. Thank you. So here's the thing. By speaking, I've been able to make a connection in West Africa. So we have Selassie Addison here from West Africa, Accra. So that's the power. That's the power of professional speaking. I want you to be excited about it. A lot of times people will be told that, hey, we need you to lead this meeting, or I need you to go and to speak to this group. And people immediately like, oh no, can you get somebody else to do it? Get somebody else to do it. Get somebody else to do it. I want to encourage you for you to do it. I want to encourage you that you have the skill and expertise. Does it mean that you're going to go to West Africa and speak? Does it mean that you're going to go to Trinidad and Tobago? Does it mean that you're going to go to the UK? Does it mean that you're even going to go to New York City? Maybe you live in Baytown, Texas, and you only do presentations at XYZ Childcare in Baytown, Texas. Here is the beauty of it. You get to decide who your audience is. You get to decide how often you are sharing your message. I'm simply on this March 14th Professional Speaker Day saying that you have a tool in your tool belt that perhaps you are not using. You have a tool, which is your level of expertise, whether you are the childcare provider, you are the educator in K through 12, if you are an engineer, if you are a nurse, if you work at the local retail, that there is something that you are good at. There is something that people are saying, get Selassie to do it. Last time I was in West Africa, I was having a hard time with my laptop. I'm not a technical person. In fact, I was going to have a slideshow with this, couldn't get it together. However, I reached out to Selassie, and guess what? He fixed what was going on. We weren't even in the same place. He was able to talk me through the process of getting the internet hooked up. So Selassie, could it be that you could be speaking? You could add that to the work that you're doing. And he's an amazing videographer there in Ghana. So Selassie, could it be that you could start putting yourself out there as a trainer to help people to do updates on their computers, how to make sure that their internet, how to work the internet, because you have a skill. There is more than one way in order to get information across. So I hope that this is tracking for everyone, that I really want you to hone in on your communication skills, to be able to use the knowledge that you have, to use the expertise that you have. The other beauty of speaking is that it can also open the doors for additional income. When I first started speaking, it's because I simply love education. I love education, period. And the work that I began to do, I was traveling all across Southeast Houston, raising awareness about gender-based violence. I had the opportunity to go to a conference. Now, the catch in going to the conference was that I was told it was not in the budget, it wasn't a part of the grants to pay for me to go to that conference, and that if I wanted to go to that conference, I would have to submit a proposal. Well, I wanted to go to the conference really bad because continuing education, lifelong learning is important to me. So I thought, I'll do a proposal. Didn't know how to do a proposal. So I looked online, saw what it looked like, and I followed the template, got accepted. There was someone sitting in that audience that day who came to my presentation on When Puppy Love Bites. I was sharing with the audience about teen dating violence. I got a call. I can't remember how many months later, but I got a call, and the person reached out to me and said, hey, I was in your audience and I have something I want to propose to you. Fast forward the story. it was an opportunity extended to me for a new grant that they had gotten, that this organization had gotten, and they were looking for new trainers. And I said yes. And here's another thing: be willing to say yes. Be willing to say yes to that thing that seems out of the ordinary. Be willing to say yes to that thing that you thought, I could never do that. Just like the young lady who came and to me at that conference, when I had shared with her the year before, you can be on that stage next year. And guess what? She was on the stage next year because she was convinced initially that I can't do that. But as I talked to her, she had so much information. So be willing to say yes, because that yes can open new doors. So I was offered the position of a contract trainer, and that's actually how my career was born. I was always a professional speaker. I had not seen myself in that light. However, when I got the contract to do work outside of the agency that I was working my regular 9 to 5, that it opened doors. And because of that, once again, I've had the opportunity to travel around the world. I have the opportunity to come to social media. And my role is to encourage, provide education, and to get you motivated. Now, at the end of the day, you have to do your own personal call to action. So I'm hoping that this is tracking and that it's helpful for you. As I get ready to close out, I want to encourage you that those of you who are using speaking in your work to continue. And for those of you who say, I have nothing to talk about, how about raising your hand for the next staff meeting? Because this is something else that I would often do. Another position I had, the manager would approve us to go to conferences. Here was the catch: that if we send you to the conference, you have to come back and you have to be able to do at least a 15-minute in-service on the information that was covered in one of your sessions. And I often challenged my team with that as well. Because what that does is that you learn, and then you turn around and you come back and you give that information to your peers. So for those of you who will watch it now and who will watch the replay, that's a challenge for you. Is the next time that you go to some type of continuing education, whether it be a conference, a networking event, and you learn new information, bring that information back to the workplace and say, hey, you know what? During our next staff meeting, may I have 10 to 15 minutes to share what I learned? Guess what? You begin to position yourself because you went out, got new information, brought the information back, and then distributed that information. You begin to position yourself as someone who belongs possibly in leadership. You become the go-to person. That's what sets you apart, is the ability and the willingness to speak up. And again, as far as additional income, that there are associations that will pay you. They will pay you to come in and to speak at a conference, to do breakout sessions. In this new world, post-COVID, being able to use online formats to be able to get education out. There are so many opportunities. So again, March 14th, Professional Speaker Day. And I simply wanted to come on and to celebrate it and to encourage you to get out there, make your voice heard, share the information, because there is an area in which you are an expert. All right. Have a great upcoming weekend, and I will see you next time on Emotional Intelligence in Real Life.